and gentlemen, for those who have joined us, thank you so much. My name is Sibongiseni Mgolozeli, and I will be your MC this evening. We are Visionary Readers Book Club. We meet every last Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. Our vision really is to see each and every African home with a bookshelf, and as long as that bookshelf is bigger than your television screen, we're happy. Our mission is to promote the reading culture within the African continent and beyond. Today, we have 4 reviewers who will be reviewing different books, and I'm excited to hear more about them. We'll start with the first one, which is going to be done. My brother, Young, he will be reviewing the book called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, now to welcome Andre Young on stage to review this book.
Thank you, Sibongiseni. Dr. Mgolozeli. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to share with you something I read numerous times and hopefully extract from it the insight and the foresight that I took from it. Part 1 talks about the awakening of consciousness. Part 2, experiencing energy. Part 3, freeing yourself. Part 4, going beyond. And Part 5, living life. I don't want to talk. I really want to make this book an experience that you have. And I want to ask a question. And I'll bring out the essence of what Singer teaches by you answering the question, who am I? Forget question 2 through 7 for now. Vuiseka, Frida, let me give Frida her hands up. Frida, you want to describe who am I?
Yes, so yeah, that's a question that I've been asking myself all my life, but I finally came to a conclusion to say I'm a woman of God and I live for the purpose that He has put in my heart.
Awesome. Sophie, I see you back on the screen.
Of the books I've been reading, from The Greatest Salesman to Ikigai to even some of Dr. McLean Sibanda's books, I've realized that, I'm an instrument, a miracle made by God, and I am used to glorify who He is. The Greatest Salesman, one of my favorite books, I'm a miracle. So that's one of the written laws, or in one of the scrolls of The Greatest Salesman. I am a miracle, and I have been created by God to serve His purpose, and serving His purpose is just phenomenal, because whatever people I meet or whoever's paths I cross, I get an opportunity to impact their life. And if it's an opportunity to impact their life positively, it's amazing. Even as a person who sells books, I serve the people. I'm honored that they chose me to want to serve them. So the ability to use everything, and especially my gifts, my God-given gifts, to serve people is just a phenomenal and exquisite and amazing ability to do and to serve other people. So I think for me, I am an instrument made by God to serve those around me, especially in the community. So I love being that instrument, because every day I am blown away by different talents He exposes into my life, from reading to explaining books to people to communicating to authors. What amazing work you guys have done, because you've given words power over the reader's life. So I'm an instrument used to glorify and impact people's lives in a positive way.
Wow, wonderful. Let me share with you, and tell me when you can see my screen. Let me share with you what he says. This is Singer now. In chapter 1, this picture of who we are as the inner journey, as this moving to see the self from different angles. And he describes this journey that one must take or embark on this inner self, as an opportunity to seek the root of oneself. What we are actually seeking is ourselves. And I read this book many years ago because I found that I kept changing as I grew older, and my identity didn't shift, but my ways of being did. So I went, well, who am I if I keep changing the way I am? And reading this book really did start this journey of setting me free. So I think that's the first thing I wanted to share with you. In chapter 1, he really unpacks beautifully what it means to begin to know oneself. I think where he gets even more illustrative is he asks you to shift your awareness, shift your consciousness. And in the shift of consciousness, he recommends that you take your time and slowly allow yourself to begin to really know yourself. And I took the slide because this is what I took most out of the book, is that literally every year when I do my New Year's resolutions now, I go back to understanding this consciousness that I am. He beautifully also then in chapter 2 asks you to consider your inner growth as completely dependent on the realization that the only way to find peace and contentment is to stop thinking about yourself. Now, this is quite contrary, because on the one hand, he asks you to think and shift consciousness, and then he says, stop. And I steal this slide from a friend of mine, because his chapter 2 is about, you've got to actually get out of your brain. You've got to suspend thinking and really get to know yourself by not thinking, by watching yourself think. And I found that quite shifting for me, because in other books that I've read, and there was one book I remember reading many years ago called The Leader Shift, as I journeyed on my professional corporate career, that I had to shift out of my mind into this not thinking. I mean, he goes on to, in the next chapter, chapter 3 or chapter 2, talking about this inner roommate that you have, that we are listening to, is a maniac, because this brain of ours is talking. You know, you're having this conversation with yourself, and this thinking is in fact what we need to gain control of. And he makes your mind become your roommate. And he says, now see your roommate, see what your roommate does, like you would in a roommate if you were living with somebody in a house or at a varsity or and he says, control your roommate and tell your roommate, hey, you're not going to leave your clothes laying around. You're not going to dominate the thinking, and really stop the thinking. And he defines this consciousness called object consciousness and self-consciousness. Object consciousness being what you think. He goes later on in the book to what you feel, to what you see with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, what you taste with your mouth, what you sense with your nervous system. And he says that these objects of consciousness is not who you are. You are, in fact, this awareness on the inside, seeing it all. But I like the way he detaches us from our bodies. Hence this untethered. You start separating from these object consciousness that have held us hostage for such a long time. He then goes into, in chapter 4, the lucid self. And in the lucid self, he asks us to begin to realize that, in fact, we are just beings, not what we think, not what we hear, not what we feel, just beings. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today, because I'm really hoping you're going to go and read the book. But I want to ask you a question as a quick plenary and then end it for today, because I want to go to question number 2 of the 7 questions that I shared with you guys. That being, what am I? Today we talked about what he shares in who am I, what am I? And you'll see it flow so beautifully where he goes into experiencing energy as to what I am. And that's why I'll leave it for today.
Wow, brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, please unmute and let's give our brother a big round of applause there. Thank you, Andre. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting more time, please allow me welcome our next reviewer for this evening, and that is going to be Sophie Maseko. She will be reviewing an interesting book called Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. Details. Sophie, over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, so I am Sophie Masako. I run a YouTube channel that talks about books. Recently, I came cross paths with Ikigai, which is the long, happy mannerism of living life. And without further ado, I just want to jump into it and tell you a few lessons that I gained from the book, and hopefully that you guys will gain from the book. So lesson one would have to be the definition of Ikigai. And I believe a lot of us just went down a dark hole, especially after COVID. You know, we had to restructure ourselves, or how we approach people, or how we see life as a whole. You know, some of us started seeing life not as a life full of purpose, but rather a job. And some days we're just like, I just want to retire from life. And in the book Ikigai, it just changed my mindset and actually gave me, a retrospective of what the purpose of my life is. And it just got me back to having a passion for life. It just got me back to having a zeal for life, just to want to give back to so many people around me. And the first few chapters, he communicates about what Ikigai is, and he defines it as, he defines it as finding your passion and purpose for life. So once we have our passion and purpose for life, in either be it business or corporate or different stages of our life, we tend to get excited or get motivated to want to get out of bed. We look forward to embracing the day and whatever it can throw at us. That later leads me to my second point, which is we see the author. Well, it's not just one author, it's multiple authors who went out of their way to go to a little town, and they researched how on earth did these people live above the age of 70, 80, even 90? Some of them lived until 102 or even more. And they questioned how on earth how did they manage to live such a long, healthy life. And he communicates firstly of Ikigai, and then later he communicates about one of my favorite chapters, which is cultivating resilience, right? And that's where he says my favorite quote, which is, fall 7 times, but get back up 8 times. A lot of us tend to want to fall 7 times and not want to get up because we just had enough after number 3. And he's like, no, change your mindset to be resilient. Change your behavior to be resilient. Change your ability, your mannerism to be resilient, because that kind of resilience helps you grow and become a better person, right? And this helps you impact people around you. It gives a positive, how can I say, it's a positive motions. It gives you a zeal to want to be around people and serve them, which later gives me to my next point, which is support. Relationships, support, and communities are vital for us to stay very healthy and alive, because that's where we get a sense of belonging. That's where we get a sense of I'm needed in this community. So that gives us, a motivation to want to just continue to just want to live, because you're like, I have this purpose. I have this God-given gift. I am a miracle. I am being used in the community together. And the authors also communicate about healthy eating, meditating, just detaching yourself from social media and toxicity. And again, emphasis on meditating. And he gives a certain kind of therapy where he's like, you know what, first day, you're going to just be detached from anything technological. Third day, we'll slowly introduce you into technology and stuff. Maybe, increase your chores or something. And then maybe the fourth day, he's like, you can use your phone for more than an hour. Then your fifth day, he's like, you know what, go back into the sea of life. But now you know how to handle all of this. It doesn't affect you as much as it would have before. And I found that very beautiful, because a lot of us tend to want to give up on life even at a young age. And he's like, no, you've got still a long way to go. And having at the back of your mind, having that thought known that you have a purpose, that you are important, you've built or cultivated resilience, you found your purpose, you've gotten a community that's helped you to grow and just be yourself, then you have this new zeal for life. You look at life in a different way. You're excited to wake up in the morning. It's not that snooze button or I don't want to get up, but it's more of I am important. I've got another day to live. And that leads me to maybe my final point. Yeah, it would be living in the present. I'm one person that's always ready to want to hold my baggage from my past and carry it to my present or even my future. And the authors are like, no, hold up. Why are you carrying your past? It happened. So let go of it. Your future still has to come. So let go of it. It is going to come. However, he's like, live in the present. And we don't want to be those type of people that are like, I wish I had spent more time with this person. He's like, no, embrace the present, cherish the present, nurture the present. And at that very moment, you understand the importance of living in the now and being excited about the now and cherishing about the now and just having a larger gratitude to those around you. And just you love more, you give more, you serve more, you act more. And I hope, based on what I've spoken about, this has been, I hope it encourages you as readers to just want to read the book, be zealous for life again, give it your all in this following week, serve the people with great gratitude because you're never going to meet them. One of my favorite authors, Helen Keller, says that people will never remember what you did, but people will never remember what you said, but they will always remember what you did. So let's live by our actions and let's live by our thoughts and let's live by starting from here, and you'll see a different kind of life.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Sophie. Ladies and gentlemen, please unmute and let's give her a big round of applause also. Wow.
Thank you.
Nice,
Fantastic.
nice.
Our next reviewer, ladies and gentlemen, is Mbali Nkosi. She will be reviewing a book title called No Matter What by Lisa Nichols. Again, No Matter What by Lisa Nichols. Please help me welcome on stage Mbali Nkosi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, fellow visionary readers. I am indeed going to review a book by Lisa Nichols. As a person who's been in fitness for over 2 decades, I was excited when she talked about building muscles, because that's my area of expertise. But then what I realized about this book is that she's not only just talking about physical muscles, she's actually talking about spiritual muscles. I've heard a lot of people that were speaking before me speaking about meditation, this is something that is about spirituality. So what I have learned over the years and also during reading this book is that there are 5 components that are held together. So in a quadrant, there is a physical, there's a mental, there's an emotional, and there's a financial. And all these things are held together by a spiritual quadrant. So if you are weak spiritually, you are bound to fail, because a lot of things, they manifest in the spirit. They start in the spirit, then manifest in the flesh. So a lot of us are now worried about, am I financially stable? And the question that we should be asking ourselves is, am I spiritually stable to be able to manifest all the things that have been given to me already, that are out there, that are just waiting for me to attract them? So this book talks about building yourself and building yourself spiritually. And the first chapter is so amazing because the first chapter is focusing on how your upbringing has an impact on the person that you are today. Are you aware that your environment where you grew up has shaped the person that you are, has also shaped the way you think? And in this book, she says that in order for you to grow, to be the person that you want to become, to be the best version of yourself, you need to peel back the skin, the layers of your upbringing. This means that you need to face those things that are scary, those things that are giving you the most pain. And one of the things there that actually spoke to me a lot is how I grew up without my father, and actually not needing him. Actually, I never needed my father. I never had a need for him or feel like I need a father. However, I realized that I've never acknowledged him as my father. and I had to go back and acknowledge him and say that, look, you are my father, and that will never be taken away from you. However, I mean, being this old woman right now, I'm not sure how we can, click the relationship between you and I. But you are my father. And just by acknowledging something, it's the same as acknowledging sadness, to say that, you know what, I went through a divorce, or I lost a job, I lost a baby, I lost my mother, which was very painful, it's still painful for me. Sadness, you are here. I can see you. I acknowledge your presence. You have a limited time to stay with me. So deal with sadness. Don't ignore it. Don't push it away. Peel the layers. Face it head on. And then when you're done, you may go. Please move over so that we can look at other things. So that's one of the chapters that is amazing. And the other chapter that she spoke about, especially as women, she speaks about intuition. She says that, have you noticed how we as women were actually raised or born to be protectors? No insult to the men in this call, but did you know that the real protector is not a man? It's not a man. And this is the teaching that has been enforced upon us, or it's a norm. A real protector is a woman. One of the reasons why women were never allowed to work was so that they can be able to protect the family. Now imagine if you are a mother and you are a wife, you are a caregiver and a nurturer. And on top of all these things, you are a businesswoman, you have other things on the side. How will you be able to align with your spirituality, with your spirit self, to be able to see things before they happen? Because a woman is the doorway to the spiritual realm. That's why even in churches, when there's something that's happening, they will tell you, call the mothers or the women of prayers, because we need them now. And one of the things that my sister said that I really, really took to heart, she said that when Jesus was born, a male was not involved. Meaning that your role as a woman is so important, and your intuition is very important, because you get to, it's like you've got the frequency where you sense things before they happen, and you are able to stand within the gap. That's why a woman is so important in this world. That's why you are able to be telepathic and communicate with your child inside of you. That's why you are able to be an incubator and incubate a child and be able to communicate. And you can discern that, you know what, today the child didn't play. There's something wrong with it. Even though you haven't seen the child, you can connect with them. And she speaks about that. She says, most of us have dropped that. We have dropped this, and we have allowed ourselves to be diluted. Meaning we still have this gift. We still have this power. And the reason why the things are today is because we as women have abandoned our posts. And she speaks about it in such a way that she puts it in a relationship and say, have you ever dated someone that you can tell, your heart is telling you that something is not right here, but then because you lack the guts to stand up and say, this is not for me, you end up learning the hard way. The last thing that I want to talk about in this book that she's doing very well, she speaks about building your yes muscle. With all the stuff that have happened in your life, with all the things that have happened in your life, it's very easy for you to say no. To say no, to say no, to say no to everything. Why? Because you don't want to put yourself into position or in positions that will end up bringing you back to where you've been. But did you know that the more you are oppressed is the more you grow? The more you are challenged is the more you succeed. And she says that today I want to challenge you to build your yes muscles. She said, say yes more often. Obviously, because you're a person who can discern, you don't have to say yes to things that are going to take life away from you. But she says that the moment you say no, you are at the same time closing a door to the doors that are going to lead you to your purpose. And she speaks about purpose, she speaks about spirituality, she speaks about mental and emotional and physical fitness. The last thing that I want to comment on is how she explains how she had to lose weight. And she explains the process of how she got that. And in an interview, I can't remember with who, but it's a famous YouTuber, she explains that when she was asked to step in for someone to talk about weight loss, she looked at herself and thought, who am I to talk about weight loss when I'm actually about 100 pounds, I'm about 50 pounds big. Then she committed to tell the person that she was supposed to speak to mentor, she committed to go into the journey with them. And by the time they set a certain time, 6 months, by the time they came back, she had lost a lot of weight. And about this, or by this, she says that sometimes you have to step in, even if you're afraid. Step in. By you stepping in, you are encouraging someone. And someone will not give up. Someone will keep on running. Someone will keep on going because they see you going. And in the same way, you will also keep on going because you see someone else going. So what does this teaches us? This teaches us that, you know, those big walls that we build, you know, those big houses that we stay in, you know, these big balances that we have, you know, these big standards, labels and everything, they're nothing. What's more important is our souls. And by you shutting yourself out of the world, you are shutting yourself out of the very thing that you were created for. You were created for 3 things. This is my conclusion. You're created to be creative, to create something that can help other people and advance their lives. You're created to connect. What we are doing right now is connection. And if you are like me, when you're around people, you're like extroverted, and after that, you just want to kill yourself for the whole month or year by yourself. You were created to connect. And without connecting, you will go through depression. And the last thing, you were created to contribute. There is magic in you. There is something that is in you. A magic that was put only in you. And that magic has a certain color that is supposed to make the world colorful. Do not hide your magic. So these are the beautiful things that I love about the book. One thing though, I must say that the book is that I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's for me. Is that she had portions in the book where she'll ask you a question and say, you must tick. And I'm like, okay, but even if I tick, you're not here to see what I'm ticking. So for me, I was like, okay, I don't like this. I mean, you could have just asked the question and say, do you think, make it like a line and then space and then start another paragraph. But other than that, Lisa Nichols is such a beautiful and a great writer. I enjoy listening to her and I enjoy listening to her speak. And I must say that this is one book that you want to get your hands on. And also from there, follow up on the other interviews that she did with the book. It's such a beautiful book. And no matter what happens, tell yourself that I'm above everything and I am victorious in everything I partake on. Thank you very much.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's unmute and give a big round of applause.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Nice. Wonderful.
The last part, Bali, hit me very hard. When you said we're created for 3 things, we're created to be creative, we're created to connect, we're created to contribute. It took me back, which is basically the question I had when you started, when you spoke about the 4 quadrants. And I love the fact that in the center of those 4 quadrants in our lives, there's a spiritual life. What was the 4th one? Because I had the mental, physical, and financial. Please quickly answer that part. What's the fourth quadrant?
Okay, so the first is mental, physical, emotional, financial, and then they held together by spiritual. Thank you.
Emotional. Perfect. Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Mbali. Anyone else with a question, ladies and gentlemen? Just one for her. Okay, I see you, Andre. Over to you, sir.
Bali, that was so inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
As I listened to you, I'm reflecting on the book I was reading and reviewing, and I only gave a portion of it. But if we look at the laws of energy, the laws of the mind, the laws of the body, which is the laws of biology, and then the laws of finances. If we look at these 4 layers of the energy, the mind, the body, and the finances, what did you extract using those 4 layers?
Sure. Now, talking about laws, what did I extract using those laws? To be honest with you, I don't know. But this is what I can tell you, is that everything is connected and everything is governed by the law. Everything is connected and everything is governed by the law. So whatever you do, there is one, the reason and the consequences. So in every law, the laws of biology tells us that our bodies are magical. The laws of energy tells us that you cannot create energy. You cannot destroy it, but it can be reproduced, meaning it can multiply. So if you destroy the very vessel that is supposed to carry the energy, what are you doing? As I said, that you are free to choose. You are free to choose. If you make choices on something that destroys you, then the consequences are you won't have longevity that I think it was Sophie spoke about. You won't have it. So, and if you break the laws, there is a consequence. Ask the people that didn't listen to Noah. They drowned. You will drown. Thank you.
Lovely. We all love that part. It was funny. Thank you so much, Mbali, and thanks to you, my brother Andre, for that question. Our next reviewer, that is Anna Mvubu, who will be reviewing her own book called Bringing Synergy into Your Life. Bringing Synergy into Your Life by Anna Mvubu. Take it away, ma'am.
Woohoo. Good afternoon, readers.
Hello.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope you can all hear me because you responded.
Yes, we can. Carry on.
Yes,
Thank you
we
so
can.
much. I'm so
Perfectly
glad to
fine.
be in this call to review my book. Here is my book, a colorful one, beautiful one. So it's Bringing Synergy to Your Life, a secret to a meaningful and goal-achieving life. So I wrote this book and I published it last year. That was in March, on the 21st of March, 2022, on my birthday. So in this book, I wrote about a journey of a young woman. This young woman was born in Limpopo province from the town of Polokwane in the semi-village, and she was raised by 2 parents. She has 4 siblings, and the family was doing very well. In her upbringing, the family had small businesses and they also loved mathematics. So the family is very good in maths. So this girl was doing very well in school as well because of the love of maths from home. And when she was 14 years, she got promoted from standard 7 to standard 8. So that's grade 9 to grade 10. And she finished her matric in 16 years. And she went to a University of the North, and she studied a BK, which is degree in nursing. However, the amount of money that the family could afford could not take her to the second year of BK nursing. And she dropped out for that year. The following year, on her second year of study in the university, and she started looking for bursaries. And in the process of looking for bursaries, she also looked for a job. And fortunately, she got a job. She got a job at African Bank, and she started working as a loan consultant. And she was using a bus to go to work. And because she's loving business, because of the family background, she started selling sweets in the bus. And one of the days, she sold to one client who greeted her special. And the following day, she shared a seat with this client. So the client was no longer a real client, but it was a gentleman who was wearing a black pant, a white t-shirt, a black tie, dark, tall, and handsome. Within 3 months, while they were just traveling together to work, this guy asked the girl for a date. They went out for a date. They went to a restaurant and they enjoyed their burger and chips. And you can ask me, where was I to know all those details? So the guy got this girl to, be in the mood of the whole conversation, because they were talking about their upbringing, their belief system, and they found out that they are sharing a same belief system. So this girl is a born-again Christian, and this guy is also a born-again Christian. And from that day, the guy proposed marriage to the girl, and the girl agreed. And they started a courtship. So these people had 3 months of knowing each other, having met in the bars. And they started a courtship. They were in courtship for 2 years, and the girl got married while she was 21. It was a beautiful wedding. And at 22, the guy said, I'm no longer a man in the church, but I'm called as a pastor. Now, this girl became a pastor's wife, which means she's a first lady in the church. And between the year of 22 to 31 of this girl, she managed, together with her husband, to be blessed with children, 2 boys. They had cars, they had houses, everything that you can think of. They were doing very well, and they were leading 2 branches of church, so they were doing very well. But what people didn't know was that the girl was going through an abuse, and eventually the girl could not take it anymore. It was just too much for her. And at 31, the girl decided to leave the house, and she left the house with the 2 boys, her car, some business material, and a laptop, and that was it. And she never had courage to go back to the house. And then the divorce processes started. The divorce papers were filed, and that girl had to start life from zero scratch. Because she didn't have accommodation, she had to go back to her mother's back room, which was not even in good condition, after having left a 5-bedroom house, double garage, 4 cars, and all the things that you can think of, including businesses. It was terrible. She had to start from zero scratch. And the girl that I'm talking about is this girl. That's me. So that was in 2016. I had to move and rebuild my life. And how I picked myself up is that I got a job in Pretoria, and I started to apply some principles. The first principle is what I am mentioning in the book. Is I started working on the self-relationship. The second thing, I acknowledged the power that I have as a person. So that's my chapter 3. Chapter 4, I'm talking about setting a direction for my life. I started looking at my SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, threats, opportunities. And I brought all the areas of my life together. 12 spheres of life altogether, including what Mbali was talking about. And I set goals for each area of my life. And here I am today. I'm proud to say today, I am an author, I'm an empowerment coach, I'm a manager in one of the government department, HR manager in one of the government department. Ever since I've been in Pretoria, I was invited to about 12 interviews, and I got 9 positions. And I am so grateful for the past 5 years that I was able to achieve a lot of things. Hence, I wrote this book. In this book, I just show people on how to draft goals, implement them, and achieve them without struggle. Thank you so much.
Wow, wasn't that inspiring? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, please unmute and let's give a big round of applause. Wow.
Well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity. You can ask her. Let's start now with her, and then if you have any other question for any of our previous reviewers, you are welcome to do so. But this starts with Anna, beginning now. Anyone, if you have your hand up, Okay, that's you, Sophie. Over to you, ma'am.
All right, Anna. So you had written a book, which is similar to like a biography, but also business kind of self-reflection. As an author, how did you find strength to relive your traumas and your happy parts and your victories, your adversities? Because living it once was one thing, but to write it down in a book and present it to the public, it's like you're reliving your trauma all over again. So how did you overcome that kind of emotion while writing?
I believe in being authentic. I was crying a lot. A lot. I think when I was presenting as well, you could even see some emotions. It was so emotional, and I had to pen it down. And as I pen it down, I was getting healing. And I thought I walked my healing journey with a psychologist and family support and friends, but I never knew until I wrote the book. Sometimes when I read the book as well, I would laugh, and sometimes I would even cry. So that's reality, and this is who I am. And I am so grateful that I can relieve both emotions. But I'm happy with the steps that I took, and I can take somebody through a hand because I've been there. I know how it feels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. And then we have the second hand up. Let me start by saying thank you, Anna, for answering that question, and to you, of course, Sophie, for the question. Next up, we have Ngosinati Madonsela. Ngosinati, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sibo, for the opportunity, and thanks to you, Ma'am Anna Mvubu, for the opportunity for me to ask you. First of all, I was thrilled by your story, so powerful. I'm so inspired. I just want to ask, because you spoke about marriage at the age of 21, looking at our age, the upcoming generation, looks like the subject of marriage is something hard, something that even some of us are afraid of. So how did you manage to get, involved in marriage, to give yourself into marriage at the age of 21? And how did you manage some of the hiccups as a teenager as well, or as a youth while already married? I hope my question is clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's very clear. So, in terms of how I was brought up, I thought it is the right time. So, for the fact that I got promoted at 13, then I went to, at 14, I was in standard 8. At 16, I finished matric. At 18, I started working. At 19, I got a man who was ready to marry me. At 21, it was not a problem for me to say yes to him. Because I thought this is how my life is going, and I'm unique, and I loved that. And I even talked about that in the book. For me, it's a highlight for my life. And the type of church that I'm coming from, they advocate for marriage. So it was not a problem to get married, yes, because there's a support system. The family I come from as well are the people that got married, almost all of them. So for me, it was just normal. However, there was also a support system from a Mamuruti side. When you're a first lady, there was a fellowship that I was part of. And that fellowship taught us how to handle the church and the pastor. So it was not really a problem for me to juggle the youth and the wife and first lady in the church. I loved it. Should I be given an opportunity? I could still go back because I loved it. It's not that the person that I was involved with, we were not really seeing eye to eye, but it was a beautiful journey. I could still go back. I still believe in marriage. I can still get married. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the answer.
Nice, nice, lovely. Thank you so much for that, Anna. Let's take one more hand because we are running out of time. Frida, you have a question? Please take it away, ma'am.
Thanks, Ivo. Thank you so much, Anna, for reviewing your book. It's not only are you a great writer, I'm sure, but you're a great storyteller. It shows that you do a lot of speaking. So my question is just one, because you mentioned that your husband was a pastor, you were a pastor's wife for so many years. So suffering abuse at the hands of a man of God, that can be very disheartening, I think. And how did you feel being treated like that from a person who declares that he knows God and he knows the word of God? Because the word of God is against everything that he did to you. And were you able to pray and believe in God to help you out of that situation? And how did you feel about God when you finally got a divorce and you got the courage to go out? Because I know the Bible goes against divorce, and I'm sure even Mom Ruth and stuff, they were against divorce. I just want to know your stance with Christ during the whole process and being abused at the hands of a man of God. Thank you.
Okay. Frida, to be honest with you, it was a very difficult position that I found myself in. However, before I met this man, I had made a decision to receive Christ as the Lord and Savior of my life. So from the age of 6 years, I was going to church, and the teachings of the Bible I grew up with, and I gave my life to the Lord at the age of 17. And that's when I realized the calling that I have. I'm a teacher by the calling of the Bible. And I knew for sure that this man is not really defining me. So I tried by all means to pray, to stick to what the Bible says. You respect your husband, you pray, you give it to God. I tried. And I think for about 5 years, I really lived what was really related to the word of God. But it became very difficult when it was moving to 6 years, and I started telling people. And telling people, I started with pastors because I really wanted them to support me, to speak sense to him. But what most of the people do not know is what's happening behind the scene. And because I was there, I know there's a lot that is happening behind the scene. I thought some people or pastors, senior pastors, will assist me in that regard. So the help is there and there, but remember, it is from this person, the individual, if he is ready to change or not. So it is just a difficult position that sometimes you will fight and he will say whatever to you on a Saturday, and on a Sunday you are in church and he is preaching and you need to focus on him and say hallelujah. And it was very difficult for me. Unfortunately, I had to take the decision to move out to save my life and my children's life. And today we are in good terms. My children are with him now. I'm in Limpopo. I'm back home for the holidays. My children are with him. He's still in the church. On Friday, I passed by and dropped the children. The church is on the road. I dropped the children. I moved. I went to my mother's house. We are 5 kilometers apart from each other. We are in good terms at the moment, speaking terms because of our children, not relationship, nothing like that. But it was very difficult to stay with him. So fortunately, he got married to another girl, and she is Mamuruti. She's handling the whole thing, and I'm happy about that. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope I have answered you. But like Doctor said, 1 hour session with me, we can talk about those things. But you know what? We are trying by all means to hide those things because it's not a good reflection for men of God, but there are things that are happening behind the scenes. Thanks.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Anna, for that. From the first review, what I've noticed, ladies and gentlemen, there's like a common thread. I think if we were to give this message, this meeting a theme, maybe we'd call it like life, or maybe life skills, or how to survive the vicissitudes of life. I would like maybe to share this. The last thing I wanted to share is that your book is basically available at 200 rands for the Visionary Readers Book Club members. And even if you're in this meeting, you'd love to have a copy, you can maybe contact me or contact her directly in the group chat, and then we'll organize and get that book over to you. In the meantime, before we leave, let's just show ourselves on video, and it's okay. Thanks, everyone. And then I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. We'll see you again in our next meeting. Enjoy the rest of your evening and see you next time. Cheers and goodbye.
Thank you.